Good morning, everybody. I'm here today not to talk about Captain Crunch. He has escaped. I don't know where. I've got a couple tree investigators looking for him at the moment. And I'm not really here to talk about the control question t-shirt. The draw is done. One of the prizes has been sent off. I'm going to write a re-note to go with the second one, and I'm still waiting on Michael Young, who is here in the UK. If you could please get in touch with me via Facebook Messenger, and I can get the third t-shirt sent to you. Now, what we're here to talk about today, of course, is the fact that, as Avery mentioned in his video, has done some sterling work in finding out all that she can about who actually sent the flowers to Judge Sutkovich. This morning, when I was in town doing, actually posting one of the t-shirts, I met a very famous person. I went up and spoke to him, introduced myself to Jim Telfer. Jim Telfer was the coach of the Lions rugby team. The Lions is the British and Irish Lions rugby team that went to South Africa in 1997 and beat South Africa. I'm a huge fan of Jim Telfer. He's obviously from the Scottish borders. I read his biography many years back. The bit that amused me most of all was when he talked about the fact that early on as a coach he had the Melrose team to coach, and nearly half the team were actually related to him. He said that some people believe that the whole of the Scottish borders is related, which is not actually true, but impossible to disprove. And for me, the Scottish borders seems very, very similar to Manitowoc and Calumet counties. There seems to be a lot of large families and people related, which tends to happen in these sort of more rural counties. And over there in Manitowoc County, up until 1985, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, Stephen Avery was a jerk. Avery would tell you that. Anybody would tell you that. He was a complete jerk. And when he ran his cousin Sandra Morris off the road and then pointed a gun at her, he deserved the 6 years that he rightfully got for that. Because up until that point, he was beginning to be perceived as a very dangerous person. We don't know if the gun was loaded or not, but that's totally irrelevant. You do not go running your cousin off the road and pointing a gun at her, particularly as there was a child in the car at the time. You just don't do that. No matter what the provocation, there was no justification for that whatsoever. And he did his time, but of course he did an extra 12 years that he didn't have to do. And really, if I've had conversations with Wee Angel about this before, and basically, if you ever watch the Netflix series American Vandal, and realise that the character in there, Dylan, this is Netflix's own parody of Making a Murderer. This is what this anybody watching it will see exactly the similarities. And of course, Penny Bernstein wasn't just raped, but she was strangled, unconscious, left for dead. That was Gregory Allen did that, and Steve ended up being sentenced for attempted murder because luckily, Penny Bernstein did regain consciousness. And of course, Stephen Avery was very stubborn. He wasn't going to admit to the attack on Penny, which is one characteristic that we do admire of Stephen. So basically, we kind of understand part of the sort of motivation for Tom Kasurik and Dennis Vogel and some of the rest of the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department to get Stephen Avery. But he was going to be doing 6 years for that crime. They did not need to do what they did and frame him for that, because as we know, and I'm sure, and they knew at the time that it was Gregory Allen. You know, we've only got to listen to Mike Griesbach talking about the fact that you know, he phoned Dennis Vogel and said, Stephen Avery didn't do it. Dennis Vogel's reaction wasn't oh dear, what a shame, how did that happen? No, his only concern was, is there anything about Gregory Allen in the Stephen Avery file? For me, I'm wondering if he was going to ask Michael Griesbach to get rid of that that evidence in the file, which fortunately Mike Griesbach didn't do. Now, as I say, I've always been critical of Mike Griesbach in the fact that, for me, I think he really does go to town. 2/3 of his book, The Innocent Killer, is based on denouncing Dennis Vogel and the prosecution of Stephen Avery, you know, and all the things that they did wrong. When in fact the last third of the book covers them doing exactly the same thing again a second time. But anyway, getting back to the subject of sending flowers to Judge Sutkiewicz. I must admit, I did find it very amusing when I found out that the judge had been sent flowers, but it's crossing the line. Excuse me. We now know, thanks to the efforts of Carrie, that the person that sent the flowers, the lady that sent the flowers, is a cousin of Dennis Vogel. And not a distant cousin. No, it's as close as you can get as a cousin. It's the same as Wee Angel to Brendan Dassey. That's how close a cousin this is to Dennis Vogel. Now, at least I hope I've got that right, dude. He did explain all the family tree, but I've only just gotten up to speed with the control question, so it's going to take me a few more explanations from Eric Hosey before I really make sense of all the family tree. But I'm pretty sure I've picked that bit up correctly. Yes, he talks about not contacting judges, and that clearly is not a good idea. But of course, I find that quite interesting because I personally had at least a dozen phone conversations with Robert Herman, which he was happy to take and talk to me about. I'd just like to point out that, he didn't have to take. He stopped taking my calls because I suspect he's been ordered to. Why did he take them in the first place? Maybe he thought he could try and win me round. That would have been a feather in his cap. And I have sent him hundreds of emails. And on more than one occasion, I've put that if you wish me to stop sending you emails, please just tell me, and I would respect that. So it's funny how sometimes one or two people, when they found out about what I'd been doing, they said, "Well, you shouldn't do that. That is harassment." I'm gonna, at the bottom of this video, I'm gonna put a link to 2 videos done by a superb, I can only describe him as another superb comedian. Okay, now Eric Hosey, in fairness, he found it uncomfortable to watch. You'll need to make your own mind up on this. I thought it was highly amusing. It's called Fred Calls the Sheriff Department to Buy Drugs. And he's a total wind-up merchant, and you can tell that he's got little pre-recorded bits of voice message that he plays to the people on the other end of the phone. I thought it was absolutely brilliant and funny. That's harassment. What I did wasn't harassment. That's how you harass. Okay. Well, that's really all I've got time for today. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Please, what am I on about? No, I've been watching too much Eric Hosey. Forget that. Sorry, no. don't hit subscribe. I'm not worried about that. He wants the subscriptions, okay? You hit subscribe on his channel, okay? Catch you soon. Bye for now.